Welcome everybody to the Rude Awakenings podcast. I'm Justin Ruth. You can call me Rudy. And coming up right now, we got another edition of the Chaos Corner, talking pro wrestling, and more specifically, it was a few weeks ago, was the 5-year anniversary NXT Arrival, the first ever NXT special. So we took a look back at it. I sat down with Shane Quartucci and Jeremy Hartzell. We are, if I would have an invading professional wrestling stable in my life, these two guys would definitely be in it. And we talked about NXT Arrival, broke down each match, kind of gave our recaps of it, and then we spent a little bit at the tail end talking about NXT going forward after the big Tommaso Ciampa vacating the belt, going to be out for a year. We touched on that and kind of where NXT would go because they had all their eggs in the Ciampa Gargano basket. So look for that at the tail end, but for right now, listen to us talk about NXT Arrival.
It's not a podcast until I start something with an existential crisis.
There's her open.
Are you recording?
Yes, that's absolutely staying in too. So that's Shane. Jeremy's also here.
Yes.
And we all watched NXT Arrival for this edition of Chaos Corner. And it was definitely a lot weirder of a show than I thought it would be.
I was bored. I'm gonna be honest.
It was a good open.
Yeah, it was a good open. That match was awesome the first time or second time or whatever. That was like the third time they wrestled, right?
I think they
Fourth.
reference it as being the fourth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, shows you how much I was paying attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It was of the Cesaro versus Zayn 4 matches. That was probably not one of the better ones.
Well, let's not jump ahead into that
I just did.
quick. I know the one thing that I think needs to get touched on, and this was
How Third Reiki Cesaro's entrance music was at the time.
Well, that was. Oh, we'll get to the entire Cesaro
Chills.
experience during
Not
this.
a good
So
time.
this event took place February 27th, 2014. So we're right around a little bit after the 5-year anniversary of this. This was the first ever live network special that the WWE Network, which had debuted, I want to say it was in January of that year. Because didn't it?
Yeah.
I want to say I think it debuted on New Year's Day, and I'm going that off the top of my head, so I'm just basing it off of that.
Boy's like an encyclopedia.
I know. Well, I didn't ask for this gift; it just it came to me. I do remember when it first happened that it was just riddled with technical errors. They didn't quite figure out the whole live streaming thing quite yet, but they eventually figured it out. NXT still is the developmental brand. It started out right before this is FCW, which if you've ever seen those shows, they're insanely kind of weird, and because FCW was really when WWE started less to sign guys that were football players and collegiate wrestlers and training them to be pro wrestlers, and they started just signing popular indie wrestlers. That's when Cesaro jumped in, and Seth Rollins and Ambrose. So they definitely had a good roster. It's not what it is now, which is just the greatest indie promotion ever assembled.
Yeah. Super promotion. Yeah.
Super
Yeah.
EWG.
There's a certain, you do have to look at it from that perspective to really enjoy this on any level.
Yeah.
Because the talent pool then versus now is wildly different. And I mean, like you said, this was really just the start of the indie invasion to developmental. So there was really only a handful of guys on this card that you could say were, not indie darlings necessarily, but, made any kind of name for themselves prior to WWE. So it was really early on in those days, but it was good for the time. I know we were talking about it earlier. We were kind of all in on NXT at this point because it was something new and fresh and different. And, ultimately it doesn't really hold up in the talent end of things, but it was still good for what it was.
I think exactly. For what it was, I think it was a fine show. When you try to compare it to like the most recent takeover,
Yeah.
it
doesn't even hold a candle.
Not even close.
Yeah. Like we kind of laughed when Jeremy and I were watching it
earlier today, we laughed at when they do the audience cut-ins. Like now, the audience cut-in is like a big moment because that's like this is when they're gonna debut like the most recent signing. We're gonna see Ricochet in the crowd, or we're gonna see Matt Little or Keith Lee. Instead, we got the mayor of Orlando and the president of Full Sail University. Like that just kind of says it's all. That it's like this isn't quite a thing. And the first face we see when they go live is Triple H. Right. And that's something that you never see because everyone knows he runs NXT, but he's definitely more of like a shadowy figure. And then here, it really kind of seemed, I got the vibe of this is a show of like a promotion that's just starting. So you go with like big names first. And that's why Too Cool makes an appearance during this show. And, you know, sure you kind of go for, like, name recognition rather over what your actual product needs to be.
Yeah. I mean, not that, you know, weekly NXT programming was wildly, you know, different than what we saw on this card. You know, again, it was early on.
Yeah, but even the weekly is still getting better than what this
was. Oh, yeah,
was.
100%. No, the weekly now is on par with...
Probably
this card,
after we watched this, we kicked on from early February of this year, Drew Gulak versus Matt Riddle, and that was better than any match I feel like we saw on this card. Yeah. Minus maybe Zayn Cesaro.
CJP versus Mojo.
Well, obviously. We've got some thought. Oh, yeah, that's going to be a good segment. Okay. All right, so the show opens. The notes I pointed out was Full Sail aside from the entrance ramp, which we pointed out looked like just like a carpet over plywood.
It was like a mid-90s like mall.
Yeah.
Or it was like the cheapest carpet you can find.
Yeah. So Full Sail looked relatively the same. There was a lot more kind of in use of lighting and production, trying to kind of make it look bigger than it actually was. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The old opening segment, I forgot how much I hate it. It's so generic. And
that song's terrible.
It's so terrible. And they're flashing all the names of the name, and like we're seeing, you know, like Summer Rae is getting a big shot on it.
She's gonna be the face of this company.
Yeah, definitely.
Just like looking at all the people in there, I'm like, how many are still active?
Our commentary. Yeah, that was a fun game. How many of these guys are currently like still in the company?
Like in the company, but like Corey
doing
Graves
anything
is in there.
Yeah.
Like so, yeah, he was. Like,
this was before he retired.
Active wrestling.
Our commentary team for this evening was Tom Phillips, William Regal, and Byron Saxon, who just refuses to leave my life. I feel like anytime I no matter what era, Byron Saxon is doing commentary on the show. Yeah. So the first match is Sami Zayn versus Cesaro. They had in the early days of NXT, they had a 2 out of 3 falls match, which I feel like was the first kind of break the internet of the NXT era. Some notes. The notes that I took during this. First of all, this is the best match of the show. I think,
hands down.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
the best match.
It's definitely smart because Sami Zayn, the former Generico, is someone who has a lot of experience. He's probably of this NXT roster, is probably the one with the most experience out of everybody. Mm-hmm. And Cesaro, who was already on WWE TV, but he had a lot of experience being the former head trainer of the Wrestle Factory, training young talent, was kind of set down to kind of sort of help be the foundation of this new promotion being built. It's smack dab in the middle of his Real American gimmick when he was teaming with Jack Swagger. Hence his, as you pointed out, his third Reiki kind of entrance music.
Yeah.
Because he's the evil heel from foreign places.
He's the Swiss. He's the Swiss immigrant who's now a Tea Party supporter.
If there's nothing more threatening in life than a Swiss.
It's the Swiss, the country that is known for being neutral during World War II.
Careful, he may not make a decision.
He also is wearing his.
That's why he's a neutralizer.
His.
Jesus Christ, Jer, really?
Damn it, Jer. Cesaro is also still sporting the remnants of when WWE called him up, and since he's foreign, they needed an explanation of why he wrestles differently, so they made him an ex-rugby player, so that's why he's wearing the rugby thigh wraps.
Which is just unsettling because
this company is really infuriating.
Yeah. Mainly for the fact that he was Antonio Cesaro for his entire developmental career. Then he gets called up and drops his last name because
More on that later.
Because Vince McMahon only likes one name people because he can only remember one name at a time.
Even that's a challenge sometimes.
Also, Sami Zayn entering out to his non-ska music entrance was also like I don't even remember him never
It was
having
just all bizarre.
Yeah,
Like the whole thing.
I feel like there's a significant portion of WWE that I've blacked out like a bad.
it was
song.
kind of looking like into a Twilight Zone where like this all looks familiar to me, but it's different. Like it was.
It's get uncomfortable. Your stomach starts to hurt a little
Like,
bit.
like the music's all wrong. It's like watching like a copywritten video on YouTube.
Yeah.
You're gonna have
Or,
to overdub it.
Or like an old
ECW.
ECW. I was gonna say
Yes.
any ECW pay per view on the network.
WWE found a way to ruin everything about New Jack, and as it turns out, I just like that song. I
Yeah.
don't care much for him.
Yeah. Some of the notes that I pointed out was how skinny Cesaro actually looks during this.
Yeah.
He definitely has bulked up since then.
Yeah, definitely.
As Jared pointed out, definitely was skipping leg day at this portion
For
of his career.
years at this point,
Yeah.
for some reason.
And
But yet again,
I really think a lot of it is the fact that, as we pointed out, he's wearing short boots and thigh wraps. And it really just proves that, like, just wear more stuff if you don't have
Yeah.
the physique
There are
on it.
ways of hiding.
Yeah,
this.
and it's not hard, like
it really
to
isn't.
hide stuff. And some other notes I took were the fact that it's mentioned that the commissioner of NXT at this time is JBL, because when I think developing young talent, I think
Who
JBL.
better than John Bradshaw Layfield?
And our ring announcer for this entire night is Eden Styles, otherwise known as Brandy Rhodes.
Yes, she was.
So that's a weird time capsule.
She sure was there.
yeah.
I happened to notice that.
I didn't pick that up until like the third match.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, is that Brandy Rhodes?
No,
It's weird when she's not wearing like a mesh bodysuit
Sequin.
like she wears. Yeah. That she tends to wear now, or wearing a USO outfit like whenever she manages Flip Gordon. The one thing I noticed that even though this match is the opener of the show, it kind of is the prototype of like every NXT title match from like the Bobby Roode era on, because there's
So
like
many
19 near falls all within like the last 5 minutes of the match.
Yeah.
yeah. The one thing I just wanted to add real quick, like onto Cesaro, I really miss him as a singles wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I have a problem with any of the work that he's done with Sheamus, but you can really see that his moveset and his creativity really shines when he's allowed to, have the time to do it. And, it'd be nice to see him get another singles run. The other thing is Sami Zayn, and this might be a bit of a stretch, but I don't think Sami Zayn is very long for WWE at this point. The undersized underdog role has been sufficiently filled.
Well, I will say
He doesn't fly better than half the flyers. He
this
doesn't hit harder
this
than
era of
strikers,
Sami
it's-
Zayn, I think, is dead. I think his best chance is what he was before he got injured, which was just this annoying shithead kind of.
Little, sidekick type. I mean, that's the
Which
only place
from,
I can see him
from
thriving at this
everything
point.
we hear about him, like that's him.
say,
He's
not
he's apparently insanely annoying, and just like it's one of those like everyone loves him, but my God, don't go into a long car ride with him.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this match ends. Sami Zayn refuses to stay down. Cesaro hits him with one of many brutal uppercuts, and then hits him with the famed neutralizer for the win. And then they pay respect to each other.
Oh.
Yeah, get it? And then they pay respect.
Paying respect is like
Yeah.
an understatement for how long this moment went.
Oh, there's lots of. There was
the
a
whole
couple
card.
moments where we kind of realized, I'm like, they are stretching for time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were given 2 hours, and Triple H quickly realized, I don't have the guys to fill this.
No.
Well, and no moment was more evident of that than the Mojo Rally promo immediately before
The Mojo Rally
next-
hype package.
Yes, before the next.
So let's jump into it. The next match.
Listen, I'm here. Can I just read what I wrote for this?
Yes.
I feel like this sufficiently covers what happened here. CJP versus Mojo. This sucked. Mojo got a decent pop because NXT crowd. some nonsense, a back body drop, some more nonsense, an unimpressive corner splash. I can't even read my own writing. Followed by the worst finishing move in WWE history. Yuck. Does that cover it?
Yeah.
I referred to it as 5 minutes of bad, but I think the match was actually longer than
It
that.
might have been 6.
Yeah.
And most of that was.
It felt like
most of that's like
about
CJP
an hour.
carrying it.
Yeah, CJ Parker is really bumping his ass off for Mojo.
Oh, speaking of bumping your ass off,
Which-
Mojo hitting a rear view.
Yeah.
There's so many things wrong. Like, first of all, this guy has 3 moves, I think.
And
He doesn't do any of them well. The
His finisher is he
He
sits
runs
on
into
you.
him.
He run.
Oh, well, no. His
No.
new finisher is basically a crap version of the pounce.
Now, for the record, according to Wikipedia, the time for this match is 3 minutes and 25 seconds. It felt
so
double.
much longer.
Yeah.
It really did.
So if you want to feel better about this, here's where everyone kind of stands currently in 2019. CJ Parker is now Juice Robinson, the reigning IWGP US champion for New Japan Pro Wrestling,
Yep.
and
Over
also
huge
leading a
Faction,
new
Lifeblood.
faction in Ring of Honor.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Mojo Rawley has spent the past 4 weeks of Raw talking to himself in a mirror.
And hasn't wrestled. It's just the
Is it-
promo.
And we
is it
haven't
like-
mentioned the part where he was teaming with Zack Ryder for an extended period
So
of time.
I've not been watching main roster stuff for a while.
He
forgot
is
about that. I
he
forgot about the
is a
Hype
former
Bros.
Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal
That
winner,
did happen.
though.
So what is it? What's going on? Just catch me up real quick. He's talking to himself in the mirror, like daily affirmations.
I think
kinda
they're-
style, or
It's
I think
like
he's
a
trying
gr-
to hype himself
I
up.
think it's a gritty reboot of the Stuart Smalley skit.
that's
from
what I mean.
SNL.
Yeah, the daily
yeah.
affirmations.
Yeah, I think they're trying that.
Jesus.
They're
Saw
trying
that.
a serious take. It's like they thought of this one character and they realized he can't do anything else, so now they're just doing a gritty reboot of it.
I'm good enough. I'm hype enough. And
Dang it!
and dang, people like me.
Whoa, not people.
Whoa.
Rob Gronkowski likes
Whoa,
me,
Rob.
and that's the only reason I'm still employed.
likes me who
The
holds value to this
WWE,
company.
who the WWE wants to sign, and
I-
he has said, "I'll only do stuff."
We've
if
already
Mojo
spent more
Rawley."
time talking
Yeah, we
about Mojo
haven't
Rally than
had
I
to-
really want
Okay.
to talk about.
So
Mojo
the
What
Rawley.
next
happened?
match is the Ascension.
Wait, so hold on, Jared. Is there something you wanted to add to that?
I was just gonna say we wouldn't have to deal with Mojo Rawley if Lars never had the anxiety attack.
Is that Lars' fault?
How's
No.
that lost for it?
Well, that's because they're trying to fill.
He didn't have, but
Well,
do
no.
we know that Lars had an anxiety
The reason
attack?
That's what it's reported
the
as.
reason he had the anxiety attack
Was
is
because
the
he was
re-
about to fail a drug test?
and probably and that's and
real,
no,
like-
that's not the reason we have Mojo Rally.
Not
That's the
drug test, a
reason.
wellness test.
That's the reason we have Rowan because apparently
Yeah.
Lars was going to be
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan's heavy.
I did hear that, but
And they
I
switched
heard
it to
all this
Rowan.
stuff with yeah, but Rowan's not attacking Cena backstage, setting up a WrestleMania
Yeah.
event,
Yeah.
which is allegedly what the plan was
Yeah.
with Lars from
Yeah.
the get-go.
Yeah.
So that
That's
they were
why
going to
they
book,
had to-
book
And
Lars
apparently-
into the ground the second he gets to the main roster.
and apparently
Sounds
they're,
good.
they're still keeping that open. So I don't know.
We're kind of running out of time.
Yeah.
here.
it's gonna. They're.
Well, the
rumored to
WWE
be-
is not known to hot shot angles for big matches.
Yeah,
That's-
good point.
No,
There's a very good chance this gets set up like during WrestleMania, like they had the
Like
whole thing
last year with Cena and Taker.
Yeah,
It's probably gonna be Samoa Joe doing an open challenge, and Cena's gonna come up for.
almost certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because who?
And then The
fucking
Rock
doesn't want
comes
that?
out, and then Joe beats up The Rock, and then Cena saves The Rock.
And then Reigns comes out and lifts The Rock's hand, and everyone boos, and they just look at each other like, "How's this happening?"
I don't get it. So next,
I have leukemia.
so next, Jesus Christ.
What? That's a fact. I didn't make fun of it.
So next match, the Ascension with an open challenge. We're told.
Is that what that was?
I was
I know they're
told.
mystery opponents.
Yeah.
But was it?
I guess
Like-
it was, they challenged. I'm
Okay.
assuming like the go home to NXT. They challenged anyone. So the Ascension, and that challenge is answered by Too Cool.
By Real Threat, Too Cool.
Yes.
Who looks at this point of Christopher Daniels teaming with Jerry the King Lawler.
I spent
Yeah.
the biggest takeaway I noticed is everyone knows Too Cool wasn't winning, so there was no drama in this match.
No.
There was
Nobody
no
cared.
heat.
It wasn't very compelling.
Nobody
No.
No, not at all.
Bald Scotty Too Hottie is incredibly unsettling to look at.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
You put it out. They sell like hats with wigs on it. He could have just bought in
Yeah.
a visor with a hair wig, and we would have been fine with it.
Yeah, but can you bump with a visor on? I mean, that thing's gonna come off almost.
Yeah, you
immediately.
just you tape it double-sided tape. You
I
just-
mean, maybe you just roll with that as your angle. Like,
Yeah.
this is gonna come off. It'll get a good pop from the
or
crowd.
you just do like when Angle shaved his head, and they just put a wig on, and then that Wrestler headgear on top of it.
Yeah,
to
no,
keep it
that's
in.
what I mean.
Yeah,
like
they
just
could have just done
make
that.
it real
That would have been
obvious.
fine.
anything but what we were given.
The Ascension wins with the Fall of Man.
Still like it.
It's
Dude,
still
the
great.
Ascension were
And
so cool.
My
at this point. Like,
my one takeaway
they-
is Victor is fucking awesome.
I hate what
Connor?
they- No, I don't
Oh.
actually have a problem with him, especially as a tag team. If he was in, a solo
For his
singles
role,
wrestler,
yeah.
they-
As just the heavy.
Yeah, they work fine together, and I've always kind of liked that balance between members of a tag team.
Yeah.
Having a guy that can move around a little quicker, and then
The
somebody's gonna come in
technician and then the heavy.
just stop.
Yeah.
I mean it's kind of a traditional formula there. So like, I don't have a problem with them as a unit, and I enjoyed them when they were in NXT. They seemed legitimate. There was an air. I mean, it was still kind of corny, but there was an air of, okay, these guys are going to kick your ass.
Yeah.
Like, you better buckle up because they're going to beat the shit out of you.
And-
And they get to the main roster, and I mean, with a few minor
They're
tweaks,
immediately
they're
put in a
a
face paint.
joke.
Yeah.
They're an absolute joke now.
And
It just
they're-
sucks looking back now.
Like the incarnation of the Ascension at this point was the best one because
And
they
they
were
tr-
past
yeah.
that weird vampire gimmick.
yeah.
and
They
everything
weren't
else.
really trying to
They
be
started
a kind of
touching
hokey
on-
thing.
no,
they started
were
tou-
dudes.
just a tag.
And like
Yeah.
they just happened to use like Illuminati imagery, but they never
Right.
touched on it.
Right,
It
they
was
weren't
just kind of
promos talking about their their allegiance to some higher power.
Yeah.
or anything like that. It's just
that actually would have been better on the main roster.
it might have been
Yeah, just
if it's the same higher power.
yeah,
This
obviously.
is Vince.
The biggest thing that killed him with the main roster was the break of logic of them being like, because they sorted out that they were going to be like the Legend Killer tag team, and we were
Yeah.
like, okay, I can kind of get on board.
Sure.
But then they were cutting promos saying you can't just call yourself Legends, we're Legends, and it's like, but you just did the thing.
Someone's
you
not paying
did-
attention to us.
Yeah, yeah.
That's upsetting.
Yeah,
fell
you
apart
and
so
I,
bad.
for the record, fantasy booked a much better entrance of the Ascension into the.
Did we?
Yes, I remember it. Do you want me to run it
I
back
would
for
love
you?
to. I certainly don't.
The
recall
idea
it.
that we had was you see the Ascension, you strip them to
Yes.
because if you want to tweak the gimmick, you strip them from wearing the leather pants with the loincloth,
Okay.
and you just throw them in black hoodies, and you kind of just make them look just like guys who you wouldn't want to see at the end of a bar. And they just show up on Raw and they beat the crap out of people, and then they show up on SmackDown and they beat the crap out of people.
Kinda sounds
And
familiar.
they're not technically called up. They're not sanctioned by anybody.
Maybe they're
and,
coming through the crowd.
and then
They're like,
the
We're
Blue,
like tactical gear.
maybe.
maybe, or like you have them come out with huge plastic shields that no one realizes they can't get over barricades or into
And
rings.
Cachizono's there.
Yeah.
Would those be shields?
Yes. But you just have this
Shield
whole thing
square.
that they're this invading
S2.
force, and then you do an angle with Regal, who's like, look, they're not, like, I didn't send them. They're doing this on their own, and you just make them,
I need you to start that over, but I want you to try to sound like Regal.
oh my god, me doing British accents would
No,
not
it's fine.
end
Just
well.
try, please.
It'll sound like a British accent going through a wood chipper and then
That's
being set on
what
fire.
I'm hoping
Just summon
for.
your
No.
inner Will Ospreay.
No.
Just
Just sound dumb.
Just
All right.
sound British.
Sorry, I
So,
interrupted you.
no,
Yes,
it's okay. That was basically the angle.
Hi.
You just make them modern brood without vampire gimmicks.
Yes, that's pretty much
Yeah.
it.
Do you have anything else to say about the Ascension versus Too Cool? We pointed out the fact that we like that Victor apparently realized that if you're going to take the worm, if this is real, you just play possum and then you attack him because it's the
10 minutes
longest.
of setup.
It's the 10-minute. It's so goddamn long.
going
But that
back
was the
to
biggest pop of the match.
Yeah.
That was the biggest
Oh, yeah.
reaction.
It's going back to the logic of, you could have pinned him several times by
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Why not just do that?
Yeah.
Gimmick.
Why not just hit him?
Play in
If-
the crowd. That's all it is.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Thank-
wrestling.
Good thing you're here.
All right. Next match for the NXT Women's Title: Paige versus Emma. But wait, Stephanie McMahon has to come out first to talk about how essentially this is all because of her.
Me.
That was actually
How
what I was saying
times-
during this segment.
How
That's-
times changed, my God, have times stayed the same.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I flipped out because we often joke about we have a love-hate relationship with the NXT crowd. She literally, her music hits, she comes out, she walks into the ring, and the NXT crowd chant,
still
"You
got
still
it."
got it." God damn it, did that piss me off?
I never lost it. What is the it you're referring
You
to?
didn't do
You
anything.
egotistical fame hog. Get out of the ring.
And she comes out and basically says, "This is the next generation of divas." Now, mind you, we just watched a hype video about how Paige says she represents everything divas aren't. So
She was the anti-diva.
that was her entire gimmick. So why not send Steph out to talk about how the two women
She's
we're
a
about
new
to
diva.
see is a diva?
Then holds the belt up the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Look at the backside of this belt.
As I pointed out, it's not like she's new and she's never been on TV before. She's been in the wrestling business since she was a fetus.
And also, she still got it.
Yes.
We don't know what it is.
I also liked how before the match, they show Paige before.
Yes.
Bold move by the production team to put that NXT title under blacklight after what we know about the NXT
Well, this was
Women's
before.
title.
This was before, I imagine.
Still though.
Yeah, that thing's been through. Seen some things and some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my takeaway with that. It was fine. Both are hot. Whatever.
Yeah, what were your thoughts on the... Because obviously Emma now is not what Emma... Jeremy hated because he has an affinity for Tennille Dashwood.
Right.
Now,
but there's
and-
nothing wrong with that.
No, I still stick by awkward dancing Emma. It was endearing. She was still good. She was still She was still hot. Like, she was never not...
It depends on what you're there for.
I believe I referred to it as career suicide Emma at the point.
I don't know. It's
or
fine.
I need a paycheck Emma.
But yeah.
She could have carved out a niche. It was that whole stealing a phone charger from a Walmart thing.
I
Kind
don't
of.
know if that's what necessarily derailed the character. I mean, it's the same reason why Alexa Bliss didn't work as a face.
Yeah.
It's like there was nothing wrong. It just didn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I didn't.
It's kind of
I
one
didn't
of
care
those.
for the dancing, but I was rather
I
indifferent.
think it's almost
Yeah.
like. I think David Shoemaker commented, sometimes you need a wrestler to be a heel so you can appreciate them as a face.
Like yeah.
Like, you look back at, like, when the New Day debuted, they were fine. There was nothing wrong with that character, but we just didn't like it.
Didn't
and then,
matter,
And
yeah.
then they turned heel, and then we're like, oh, yeah, now we realize that they've always been awesome.
Yeah. No, there's definitely I definitely enjoyed the I'm a bitch and hate everyone Emma.
I refer to her as
versus-
hot-ass evil Emma.
Yes, no, that
Because
one,
definitely the
yeah.
shorts definitely got to change from
did.
the current. I did notice that even on commentary, they kept throwing Diva around, and it's such a weird... We kind of talk about this match is definitely in like even though it's only 5 years ago, it definitely seems like it's from a completely different
It
time.
didn't really age well at all.
No.
Most of this card did not.
And Paige wins with the debuting PTO, and I pointed out that only William Regal knew what he was looking at.
Yeah.
Byron Saxton
in
and Tom-
defense of everyone else,
Yeah.
I wasn't really sure. I completely forgot that was a fucking move.
Yeah.
I really wasn't sure what I was looking at either. I was just like, oh yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah.
The hell is
Yeah.
that called? So, good thing Regal was there, I guess.
Yeah, and Regal also danced during Emma's entrance, which proves that William Regal's a comedic genius and will never...
If you go back and watch some of the work he had with Tajiri,
God, it's
it
Have you
holds
ever-
up as
have you
still
ever,
funny to
Did
this
you ever
day.
see... They did an episode of Table for Three, and it's Barrett, Sheamus, and Regal, and they were talking all about being kings, and Barrett... His opening line is like, I think they got us because we were the worst kings of the ring. And Regal is like, you shut your whore mouth. I was awesome as king of the ring. And Regal spends the whole time talking about that all he ever wanted to do in wrestling was just comedy. He loves comedy, which is why he never had an issue, dressing in drag, doing the stuff with Jericho, Tajiri.
Right.
He just also happened to be someone who was trained at the art of like killing people in the
Right,
ring.
right, yeah.
So it was this weird dichotomy he had to walk.
Just constantly torn
Where
between, like, do I
everyone
make
was
a
like,
lap or a
"You're a
burn?"
legit badass. Can you just do that?" And he's like, "No, but I want to wear like women's clothing because it's funny." And they're like, No.
But you're a man's man. Wait a minute.
Yeah. Hey, I've got an idea.
Hey!
He's a man.
He drinks freshly squeezed orange juice.
That's my kind of man!
But then you look at it and how much that carried over to today's wrestling too. All that Regal's the comedic genius rolling over.
It definitely did. I mean, it always had its time and place, but there was, a point when even, companies, locally speaking, like Jakar, when stuff like that started getting big and really going completely ridiculous, I think it pushed the bigger companies into accepting the fact that this is a draw.
It has a place.
It's not your main draw. You don't want this to be in the main event, typically speaking.
Yeah.
But, keep the shenanigans to your openers and your,
And that's kind of something that,
but
like, I remember hearing Kevin Sullivan say his booking philosophy was to book it like a circus, where here comes some lions. You don't like some lions? That's okay. We got trapeze artists next. You don't like trapeze artists? And then at the very end, the guy's going to stick his head in the lion. Everyone likes that, and then we all go home.
No, and it's great philosophy. Yeah. I mean, I was watching AAA the other day, and, AAA is great for about 15 minutes.
Yes.
And it just becomes too much of a clusterfuck. You got 19 people jumping out of the ring at once. I don't know any of their names. I'm like, what is...
That's why I can't watch CMLL.
All of the production money has been spent on acquiring the legal rights of music.
Yes, and so all the legal rights of music and all the advertising around the arena.
Yeah,
pretty much
because of said legal rights of music. Because goddammit, La Parka wants to come into the Star Wars theme, and goddammit, he's gonna come into the Star Wars.
What La Parka wants, La Parka gets. As soon as we all come to this understanding, the world will be a better place.
Yeah. Oh God! I knew we'd somehow wind up talking about La Parka.
Got a little sidetrack there. Emma versus Paige.
Yeah,
decent match.
No, that was fine. And again, also they paid each other respects at the end, and it is also kind of weird doing like the we talked about CJ and Mojo about like you flash forward 5 years. Their careers are completely different. You flash forward 5 years. Paige is retired and has a movie out about her life.
Oh, and another movie out.
Yeah, and more than one movie out.
Movies. She's an actress now?
Yeah.
And Emma is wrestling in Ring of Honor in Mojo Rowley, CJ Parker's stable.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And speaking of Paige's movie career, the next match advertised is Xavier Woods versus Tyler Breeze.
Which was no contest.
This is why this match ended up not happening, because Rusev comes out. I'm pissed because you and I, we didn't look at the card ahead of time. Yeah. We had no idea what matches were coming.
And we were stoked.
Woods comes out, and we're like, oh yeah, I remember when Xavier Woods had the Cats theme, and he was just dancing.
Rick
and
James haircut.
Yeah, and then Breeze comes out, and then we're like, oh sweet, Woods Breeze. This is going to be awesome.
When the hell did we rehire Shelton Benjamin?
And then Rusev comes out. And then Rusev comes out with Lana, and this is definitely like Rusev was always just like Rusev at this point. He was just that guy. Lana hadn't quite figured out Lana yet. She hadn't quite figured out the look
or the accent.
No,
she still hasn't figured out Lana. Yeah. 5 years down the road.
The accent still kind of sucks, but
now she kind of
accent here was.
Yeah, she knows how to at least play up the because she was still the ravishing Russian.
Yeah. Yes.
But she was like, so I'll wear a business suit, and then you look at her now. She does her hair up, and she wears more kind of seductive clothing, and she definitely kind of has more of an idea of the character. Here, they were like, you're gonna be a Russian businesswoman.
Yeah.
So she was like,
she held some kind of title.
She was his social ambassador.
Yes, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Because I think Rusev's gimmick at this time was he was a Bulgarian athlete who was coming over to the States, and she was like his handler, I guess.
That makes sense.
Jesus Christ.
And this was he had the taped... He had the taped feet, and he had the greasy... black llama hair.
This was still a kind of scary Rusev though.
I was just about to say. That being said, he walked out, and everyone in the arena knows, oh, people are gonna get their asses kicked because here comes Rusev.
Yeah, that was. I mean, it was a thing.
He immediately killed one.
Yeah,
immediately.
Do you think, us knowing how Rusev's career is now, do you think he has the proper career, or do you think they've dropped the ball with him, and he could have been more than what he is? I think he's perfect.
He's about where
He's kind of like in that like Ken Shamrock kind of role of just like
yeah.
upper mid card.
Yeah.
We can bounce him to the tag team division if we have to.
Yeah,
If
you
we
have
gotta
flexibility with him.
Yeah.
For sure. The thing is, like, the reason he really won't, in my opinion, achieve any higher status than where he's at right now is back to the argument I had with Sami Zayn is there are bigger, there are stronger.
Yeah.
There are faster, there are more technically sound wrestlers, there are, guys who you can put into this just powerhouse, kick your ass, no questions asked kind of gimmick.
Because even though he's
about that
jacked,
gimmick.
he's 6'1". Like he's not
Right, and it's not. You got to look at it from their perspective, because you know how it's going to be. There's always guys there that are bigger, stronger, faster.
The language barrier, I think, is something that may have held him up.
That's really something that if it's done right, really shouldn't. I mean, you've had guys that have barely said a word who have been.
I mean, he is another great example of the thing that's not supposed to get over gets over, so they just decide to run with it.
Yeah, there's, I don't know, man. I think he's about where he should be. I mean, he's a very talented guy, and I enjoy watching him.
Yeah, and he's definitely one of those guys that I could see. I mean, we kind of saw it when he was challenging AJ for the title for a couple of times. I feel like he'll do that for a while. He'll
just pop in there.
He'll pop into the main event, and it's believable because he's Rusev, and then he'll go back down, and he'll kind of just do,
Rusev stuff.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Like the Rusev Day thing was over as hell.
For sure. I think watching this in retrospect, it's tough to say that you could have gauged, the success of Xavier Woods based on what we saw there.
Well, yeah,
he really was used in the most jobberish.
And
fashion.
I think it also proved that like they figured out pretty early on that like Xavier Woods is not a singles wrestler, and like that's fine.
But the thing is, honestly, I think he could be.
But it's just been so long since he's actually been given the chance. That I don't think anyone will care if it does happen.
Honestly, when he started with the New Day, and we really just, I think we talked about it at one point, thought he was just going to be sliding into the managerial role. He really wasn't wrestling at that point anyway. Kind of forgot that he has talent.
And then I think what happens with him, it's kind of like the what Shane McMahon used to do, that he would wrestle so infrequently that when he would wrestle, he would just go balls to the wall because he's like, I can take time off after this because I don't wrestle. And I think that's because like, remember the elimination? Well, no, it was the Hell in a Cell with the Usos, and wasn't he the one that was like handcuffed to the ring post? And one of the Usos was just caning him in the chest.
Yeah,
it's one of those things that like that's an insane spot, but he's not going to be wrestling for like another month, so he can take that punishment,
right?
Because he's got the rest time in it.
So he's a billionaire. So.
That too.
He can
in a video game mode.
He can be a singles competitor, but just not in the WWE and under the current climate.
Yeah. So before the main event, we get promo hype videos for both Adrian Neville and Bo Dallas. So we get those, and then. And then we get an HBK promo. And that was when we realized they are filling time.
Boy, are they.
Because they knew Bo Dallas could not carry. Well, not carry, but like.
He didn't need to carry that match.
No,
not at all.
But Triple H comes out, and he was still. He has a bigger role with it now. Not Triple H. HBK kind of has like this. Kind of like what Dusty was at this time, of just sort of like a godfather. I'm just going to oversee, pop in here and there. Not really train anybody, but just sort of give my 2 cents when it's asked for. And he was still doing that here, so he comes out to essentially just present the NXT title, which I'm sorry, I always hated this era of the NXT title. I always thought it looked super dumb. But he just comes out, and then he talks, and then he talks, and he talks. And it's clearly one of those moments that we've seen of Shawn Michaels knowing it's live and knowing he's Shawn Michaels and no one can say anything to him. Yeah. So he's just out there to have some fun.
Clearly.
And I'm making...
He even admits it.
He's there, and he's like, I'm making 4 people in the entire world laugh. And they are Scott Hall, Triple H, Kevin Nash, and Shawn Michaels. And guess what? That's all I care about.
The only pop I'm worried about.
Yep.
So he comes out, and then he cuts a promo, and then he leaves. And then Bo Dallas versus Adrian Neville in a ladder match for the NXT title. Gonna grab the title. I think the one thing we noticed, it's kind of like the Too Cool Ascension match where it was clear the Ascension was winning that.
Yeah.
Everyone in that building knew AJ Neville was winning the title.
Yeah.
So the match that would happen, and Neville would be doing cool shit, and it would be awesome, and the crowd would be into it, and then Bo Dallas would get heat and would, buckle bomb or take out Neville, and the crowd would die because everyone's like, this is the part of the match that we know ultimately is useless.
Just going through the motions at this point.
I get it because this is how wrestling matches are formulated,
Yes.
but this won't matter in the end.
Yeah, for sure.
That being said, I thought it was fine. Like, I thought it was
okay.
Neville was over. Neville was doing Neville stuff
Yep.
in it. He was
Bo
doing
Dallas sold his ass off beautifully.
Yeah, and
But that's all he can do.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he has a limited offensive
My
moveset for
my
sure,
note
but-
was Bo is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were kind of talking about, because you were kind of confused just about Bo Dallas NXT champion.
Yeah.
So the backstory was they, out of the gate when NXT was starting, they wanted Bo Dallas to be their top babyface. They were going to Cena the shit out of this guy. They brought him up.
Did he win a raffle? Like
They brought him up. The raffle was being the son of IRS and the brother of Bray Wyatt. That was the raffle. Because Bray was hot. This was right at
Bray was going to be the Undertaker.
the Wyatt family. This was the start of the
Post Husky
of
Harris.
the Bray Wyatt is the next Taker era.
Yeah.
So they thought, well, let's push his brother too. Clearly, he's got it. And they tried shoving him down Full Sail's face. And that vocal NXT crowd was like, actually, we hate his face and we hate everything about him. So no. And then, since Triple H is not Vince McMahon, instead of going, no, we have a plan, damn it, he went, all right, we'll turn him heel and we'll make him annoying. And, hey, Bo, go be annoying. And that's just what his character was, which is fine. If he
You
he
still haven't explained why he had the belt.
Well, he had the belt because when he got the belt at the start of them Cena-ing him.
Right.
So they thought, we'll give him the belt because this is going to be our next guy.
So when he won the belt, he was a face, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Big E was a heel, and
What in the...
and he was a
Just
face.
think about that. He beat Big E for it.
Yeah.
And this comes back to what we opened with, which is the wildly famished talent pool then versus now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the talent pool at like the tail end of FCW.
If you go through every other NXT champion, it's
Yeah.
like a who's who.
Oh, and we're gonna
Bo
do
Dallas.
that at the end of this
Good,
pod.
good.
The end of the NXT, the end of FCW, the roster was stacked. You had Rollins and you had Ambrose and you had a young Reigns right when they were just like, you're just going to be a heavy before they try to put all the eggs in that basket. And you had I think Del Rio was there and you had all these guys. And when it gets to NXT, a lot of those guys got called up already. So they kind of had to start from scratch almost.
Yep.
And Bo was just kind of the best guy at the time. He was the
Funny how things work.
he was
like
the
that.
husky chick at the end of the bar, and you're like, well, I could do
It's
better.
the last call.
Yep.
Got
But,
this tennis elbow.
I kind of had the
We've
thought.
done worse, I guess.
I kind of had the thought of like,
Right, little fella.
if Bo Dallas never gets this push at the end of this NXT run, if he never gets this main event push, because he kind of becomes the first big NXT call up. Like he was the one who he was the first guy to make the transition.
Yeah.
But if he was just a guy in NXT that they eventually caught up and he just became a mid-carder, I think we look at his career completely differently.
Yeah.
I think he got a lot unnecessary pressure that he never should have gotten.
Yeah.
And a lot of responsibility he was not ready for.
No.
And was just screwed. He was dead
Dead in
the
the water.
moment he
Yep.
came out of the current.
Yep.
Yep.
Because you even asked, like, what's he doing now? And I'm like,
I
still...
forgot what he was
I'm
doing.
like, he's still teaming with Curtis Axel.
team, right?
And we're
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, the B team's like kind of awesome. And we're like, yeah, that should have been his lane.
Yeah.
He never should have left.
Well, dude, the social outcasts, like
He was the best part out of all of them.
I liked where that was going. I
Yeah.
really did. The random bow trains that would start
Oh my
up.
God.
We also brought
Yeah,
that up.
I mean, it
He was like, my favorite Bo Dallas moments are like number 2, the Bo train when he knocks over El Torito.
That- yeah.
And I'm like, you shut your mouth. That's the greatest moment in Bo
Yes.
Dallas's career.
and I'm like, no. The greatest moment in Bo Dallas' career is when he gets destroyed by Brock Lesnar for 5 minutes straight.
That's right. I remember.
Yeah, where he just
We all
kept-
start like we experience like a spectrum of emotions while
Yeah.
watching that. At first, it's like, well, Bo Dallas is gonna get killed here, and then like 3.5 minutes later, you're just laughing in
Yeah.
tears, going, "Why are they still hurting him?
Yeah,
What did he do?"
And
and-
Lesnar goes a long way, comes back, and like,
and
it was
Bo
like 7 at 5.
doing what he does best and just selling his ass off for it. We're like, wow, he's really getting murdered right now.
Brock, you're wasting energy. He's already dead.
He's
Paul
just
Heyman's like, one more.
yeah. But that 7th F5 he took with as much enthusiasm as he took the first
Really did,
F5
yeah.
at.
Credit where credit is due. He sold the hell out of it.
So Neville wins the belt. He pulls the ladder down or pulls the title down.
He climbs the belt and rips the ladder
Yeah.
from the ceiling.
It's a reverse battle royal. Bo Dallas goes into the penalty box and then he hangs. And
I watched. This is
he's
such a
king of the
sidetrack.
mountain.
I watched a video. I know this is nothing to
No,
do with wrestling.
no,
I watched
we
a
got
video the other day, and it was firefighting in reverse.
Oh, I saw that video too.
I haven't laughed that
It's
hard. in a long
firefighters
time.
carrying people
Putting
out
people into fires.
Yep.
Carrying people into burning
It's like
buildings.
they do animal rescues too. It's like they pull a dog out and they just shove it back down the hole. like in you go, and they bury it back.
That's what that reminded me of. Something about this seems wrong. It's fundamentally incorrect.
So Neville pulls down the ladder. God damn it! I get it again. He pulls down the belt, and then the show just sort of ends. There's no real.
There was no.
There's no sign off.
pomp
There's
and
no
circumstance
close of.
This was also like
theatrics of any sort?
before the false finish
Yeah.
of NXT.
Yeah.
The tradition they got into.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, it's a ladder match, so it's gonna. You know, you're not gonna have false finishes in a
Yeah.
ladder match. I mean, false climbs, I guess. But
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like they play the brand.
There,
Yeah.
Like, and then
Copyright
something happens,
WWE,
So,
and then
so there was a thing I noticed before we get too far away from the concept of this match is there was a point where not Aaron Neville.
Adrian Neville.
I just want to at this point because it's fun.
He doesn't have a first name anyway, because
Yeah,
then he
not anymore,
becomes
yeah.
a superhero when
Yes.
he gets called
I
up.
remember.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I forgot about his.
Slipped into
Stupid
some
little
radioactive
His
waste
purple
and became
herded
this-
cape.
Oh, that cape was terrible.
So anyway, he's climbing the ladder and he's obviously trying to get the belt. And Bo comes up behind him and attempts to do a German suplex, or at least I think that's what he was
Oh,
trying.
yeah,
to
no. We pointed this out. Because Regal goes like, oh, he's going to German suplex. But, like, if you notice where the ladder is,
Right.
and we know how trajectory works,
Right,
and we
and-
see where they would be landing him.
And also, like, have seen a German suplex before, so the way he's thrusting his knees
Yeah.
forward
Yeah.
isn't that of a German
He's not
suplex.
lifting him at all.
It more looks like those weird female promotions that do
Yeah.
customs.
Yeah.
Where it's like, that's not a wrestling move anymore. This is purely sexual.
Yeah.
And I was really uncomfortable for that brief moment, and I think that was when I turned the page on this match. and
Not
I-
made-
You know, Bo Dallas does kind of suck.
Not made any better by the fact that Bo Dallas is wearing, like, white. But wrestlers never wear white trunks ever, because they just look bad.
It's easy heel heat.
Yeah.
I feel like it's easy heel heat.
There's been a couple times it's been pulled off okay.
Like,
But yet
I
again-
guess, like, Saber, but
Saber and Balor. But yet again, they're pretty much the same person.
yeah.
I don't know.
No.
I don't know. Bauer's white gear was a little weird.
Yeah.
I know
Not
what you're
as bad
saying.
as the powder blue.
It just feels more underwearish.
Yeah.
Powder blue was forever ruined by Dan Champion.
Yeah.
And I hope he gets drunk one night and listens to this out of
Yeah.
sheer boredom and hears.
Sending it to him.
Get longer boobs.
Shitty.
I imagine Dan Champion listens to every wrestling podcast, hoping they mention his name. So there you go, Dan.
We may have just made Dan's.
I'll
name.
hashtag him in
Yes,
this.
please do. Please do. love you, Dan. But that all powder blue singlet is fucking god awful. I said an F-bomb. Now we can't even use it. As
No,
far as
I
episodes
dropped
goes.
like 3 of them already.
No, I
We're good.
definitely swore.
Oh, yeah.
I was listening to a lot of Biggie on the way here, so I was more worried about dropping another,
Oh,
another
okay.
bomb. And
Fair-
everything.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah. Jared knows what we're talking about.
I'm not serious.
All right, so I
No, it
thought a
wasn't.
good way to kind of wrap this up to see. We went through the list off the top. Can you, off the top of your head,
No.
do the title history
In order?
of the NXT title.
In order.
I mean, I managed to do it in order, but
I'm not going to be able to do it.
I had a gray area.
yeah. All
I'm
right.
gonna. Do you have this written down somewhere?
I just know it. So
He does.
Yeah.
It's kind
Okay,
of unsettling.
so
do you know who the first NXT champion is?
was it Tyler Black?
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Seth Rollins is the
But
first
he
one.
was Tyler Black.
No, he was still
What
he was
was he?
Rollins.
Oh, okay.
He was Rollins the moment he got to FCW.
Okay, I don't know
yeah.
why I thought for a brief moment. Anyway, whatever. Okay,
Anyway.
so Seth Rollins, Big E,
Yes.
Bo Dallas,
Yes.
Neville.
Yes.
Here's where it's gonna get weird because I don't remember who he dropped the belt to. Was it Sammy?
He was Sammy.
Okay. Sammy to Owens.
Correct.
Who was after? Did Sammy take it back?
No.
Who the hell was after? Was it Balor?
Yes.
Okay. Balor, Joe.
Yes.
Joe to. Who the hell did Joe drop to? Rude?
No.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
There was someone in between Rude
And
who.
Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it a really obvious one? Am I gonna feel
Yes.
stupid when I? Okay, so who did Joe drop it to?
It was an annoying 4-match.
They kept dropping it back and forth. Joe and this person kept trading the belt.
Why don't
back
I
and
remember
And it
forth.
was
this?
awful by
Hold
the
on,
end.
hold on. And it was bad by the end. Was there like a cage match or something?
Yes.
I think they
Shit.
ended.
It was a cage match, and they opened with it, too.
Yeah. Wasn't it in Australia too? Like, wasn't it like some random?
Yeah, I don't remember where it...
Nakamura.
Yes.
Oh my God! Why did I? As soon as yeah. Okay,
So
okay.
Nakamura and Joe traded back and
Right.
forth. Nakamura gets it. Who does Nakamura drop it to?
Rude.
Yes.
Okay.
And Rude drops it to.
Almas.
No, there's an in between there.
Yeah, there is. I almost got ahead of myself.
In
there.
between Rude and Almas.
Shit. In between Rude and Almas. Wow.
Kind of a big deal.
He's currently on the main roster.
Yeah.
Will be wrestling the Shield at Fastlane.
Oh my God. My fucking man crush.
Yeah.
Drew.
He's gonna be so heartbroken when he realizes.
Sorry, Drew.
Yeah, McIntyre and then Almas.
And then Almas, and then Black,
Yep.
and then Tommaso.
Yep. There you go.
All right,
And
so I
now
limped to the
it's-
finish, but I
Yeah,
got
you
there.
got there. You got
All right,
there.
All right,
And now
yeah,
it's possibly vacated.
It is vacated.
Definitely vacated.
110%. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because he had
He had
surgery
surgery.
yesterday?
Yeah.
Alright.
And they're saying up to a year, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we'll
That's
quick
what I
sign
read.
off on this point because I kind of last time I did a wrestling podcast, we kind of touched on some modern, like some actually like, up to date stuff. I was trying to figure out because the plan, if you read the Full Sail spoilers, the plan for Takeover Romania
Spoiler
weekend,
alert, everyone.
yeah, was Gargano versus Ciampa,
Right.
and Gargano most likely finally winning the belt.
Right.
That's obviously not happening.
Clearly.
Who does Gargano wrestle in the main event for the title? I think there's only one name that makes any lick of sense. And this is from a pure credibility standpoint. He's just the only guy who's currently not doing anything.
Is this a trivia question?
No, well, I'll just tell you,
I don't-
it's Adam Cole. He's the only one that makes any
Who is,
sense right now.
Riddle up against?
Whittle's facing Dream for the
Oh,
North
yeah.
American.
Yeah.
And
Keith Lee's not there yet.
Keith
No.
Lee, if anything, might be wrestling Dijak
Dijak
on
for
the...
sure. If they're smart, they're gonna do
Yeah.
that. Just give them 15 and
Yeah.
let them tear the house down.
So that'll be like the opener. That's a perfect match opener.
It's
Yeah.
just weird because like they have
Cassius Ohno is more or less, from what I hear,
he's
retired.
NXT, no, he's
yeah.
UK.
And he's kind of retiring, doing UK,
Yep.
and then sort of kind of taking like a more of a training role.
Yep.
He's helping with the UK Performance Center.
who can they get from UK?
The only person who's credible is Walter, but he's wrestling Pete Dunne at Takeover.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, nobody else is.
Yeah,
really
there's no one else
established
but
himself
Cole.
as-
Because Gibson's not there yet.
God no, and he's,
No, he's
NXT
tag
Tag
champ.
Champ. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. No, there's really.
Because Ricochet and Black are in the Dusty Classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they'll face the War Raiders.
So Cole's the easy answer, but how do you set that up? I mean, you just vacate it and have these two guys arguing
I think,
over it. And
yeah, I think you just make Gargano like this was my destiny, and then Cole just is Adam Cole and
then
just
you have-
draws heat.
You have
And-
easy future booking with that too.
Yeah,
anybody can challenge him. Say you didn't beat anybody for that belt.
Yeah,
and that belt was
or
vacated,
you
blah,
and
blah,
then, or
blah.
you put the belt if you want to keep. If the plan was to keep Gargano, because I think at this point, I think you have Cole go over and you just send Gargano up at this point.
Yeah, because he's
But
already basically.
If you want
main.
to, if you want to
Yeah,
keep
but
him,
he was
if-
basically main as a tag team with Ciampa.
But if
which
you
is
want to,
another
if you
issue.
want to keep him down in NXT still, you put the belt on Cole and you have Gargano and Candice versus the Undisputed Era, basically, and you just have.
But will we really want another year of Gargano chasing?
It's
No.
a different chase, but no. What you do is you call
I
him.
wouldn't want that.
I
like-
think
No,
you call,
plus with the way his gimmick has changed a little bit, his character has kind of evolved. You can't. I don't think you can go back to that.
I
at this
think
point.
what you should do is you should call Gargano up and have him win like the U.S. or the IC title, and you have him do a long lane with that, and then when he's doing this coronation, Ciampa gets caught up, and it's like Ciampa is this nightmare from his past. That's like, you can't get rid of me. I'm still gonna torment you.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm coming off a cold. I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It'd be weird if we just end the pod with you just going, "Are you okay?" Ew.
Ew.
We should. I should edit it, and it's that, and then it's just fade, and then it's like, "Did I die?" It'd be like Lucha Underground ending.
Fucking history.
It'd be like,
Ooh.
Just play the Dark Souls you died theme.
be really great when I die on this podcast, and then in post production record the intro for it. Just
Yeah.
feel like this is me from behind the grave. You're learn. All right, so that was NXT Arrival. Is there any show maybe you guys are thinking of off the top of your head that you'd want to do for another review? Kind of jump around. Do we?
I mean, I'm in favor of not consistently doing this necessarily because it can be a tired thing, and there's plenty of people who already do this in some form or another. But I'm definitely not opposed to bad pay-per-views.
All right.
Like ones we know we're not going to enjoy for the sole purpose of not enjoying
You
them.
want to watch Road Wild 97
I
again?
don't want to watch Road Wild
listen.
97.
I have a line, and suicide is not a joke, so I
Yeah.
appreciate you.
So,
not
Halloween
making it that
Havoc
way.
98.
That's good. Doesn't that have Eddie Ray in it?
There's listen, that era of WCW was a convoluted
blur.
nightmare.
It's a blur.
So
The first like 40 minutes of every WCW pay-per-view from 1996 to 1999 is awesome, and then it goes off a fucking cliff.
here's some luchadors. Here's our mid-card guys, and
Here comes Hogan, motherfucker.
now we're going to jump the
Speaking
shark.
of Road Wild, it was Ray versus.
Oh yeah, Psychosis.
Yeah.
Just randomly.
Well, every pay-per-view on WCW's end from 95 to 2000, the
Had
opening
Ray.
match was Rey Mysterio and or Ultimo Dragon in some form.
And it was
It's
all-
find me one that disproves that theory, please. I don't think there's a single one. You might have a Johnny B. Bad versus Steven Regal TV title match.
Malenko's sprinkled in there.
Yeah, little Malenko. Yeah, for
Dash
sure.
of Jericho.
Dash of Jericho.
Malenko was the
the
ref.
standard.
Yeah, Malenko was he was the ref during Jericho
Saturday-
versus Hoovy.
Yeah, which was awesome.
Jericho versus Hoovy.
You know, not to go too far off the rails, but my favorite Dean Malenko moment ever. You know what it is?
When the Hardy Boys jump in the hotel room.
No,
Oh, okay.
that was a good one.
When he unmasks as.
Cyclope.
When he's Cyclope in
Yeah.
that battle royal,
Yeah.
the very same battle royal
Yeah.
that Jericho does one of the funniest
intro.
entrance ever.
Milano representing Milano.
No, Viano, yeah.
Viano.
Representing Viano's 1 through 64.
Here comes Silver King. He wins 3 more matches. He gets promoted to Golden King.
That we're gonna have to watch that a separate time. But yeah, that was such a cool moment with him unmasking and the pop, dude.
Jericho
Yeah.
to
The
this
pop
day
was thunderous.
to this day, Jericho says that's the loudest crowd reaction he's ever heard.
And he might be right because you watch that back now and it's almost like chilling.
So, for everyone's homework, watch that match. Super Bowl 90...
7?
Yeah, 97, 98.
6? One of those three.
99?
No, that's too new.
Okay. I thought we were
Just
just saying
use
years.
Google.
Yeah, just
Google it up.
I'm not here to do the work for you,
Did
you
you Google it?
fuckers.
Did you Google it? I told him to Google it.
And